What's up, YouTube? I'm your girl, Megan. Welcome back to my channel if you're already a subscriber. If this is your first time joining me on today, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and then go ahead, bang on that notification bell while you're at it so you can see when I post. My voice sounds a little raspy. I sound like Big Inch from Mob Wives RIP Big Inch. I'm getting sick. Something's going on with my sinuses, but we just gonna push through here. Push through. Work with me, y'all. So as you can see by the title, I wanted to talk about Mercury retrograde. So as you all pretty much know, Mercury is going to be in retrograde from November 16th, which is like tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, all the way up until December 6th, okay? It's going to enter the retrograde in the 13th degree of Sagittarius, and when it stations direct again, it'll be in the 27th degree of Scorpio. So naturally, because Mercury is the fastest rotating planet, we naturally have like 3 or 4 Mercury retrogrades per year. And this year, it just so happened that all of, the retrogrades have taken place in fire signs. Earlier this year was in Aries and then Leo, and here we are in the sign of Sagittarius. So we'll touch on that later. But typically Mercury retrograde is a very interesting time because it represents a period where we get to slow the fuck down and chill the fuck out and assess and really analyze what the fuck is going on here. Analyzation primarily because Mercury is the natural ruler of the third house in astrology. That third house representing communication, analyzation, your short distance travels, even technology, I would argue. So that's why typically, this whole Mercury retrograde period is associated with technology going haywire, maybe problems with electronics, vehicles. They typically advise you not to travel during this time. Just things, everything in regards to the third house. You also have to think about the third house is the type of house that brings, it's the beginning of your self-awareness. It's the beginning of your self-awareness in the way that you fit into the world, okay? Because third house, with it representing short distance travels, communication, and even, the way you grew up, the things that were around you in your immediate environment growing up, the third house is where we kind of get a first understanding. We gain our very first understandings of who we are, how we fit in the world around us, and how we interact with our stimuli, right? How we engage in the world and participate in the world around us. And as a result, this also kind of causes our communications to be kind of funny whenever Mercury goes into retrograde as well. So getting into the energies at play this specific retrograde, well, as you can see, if you watch my previous video, I'm gonna link it in the description box below. Jupiter just entered the sign of its home sign of Sagittarius. I'm a Sag sun. My birthday coming up in a couple weeks. I'm so excited, y'all, and I probably ain't gonna do a goddamn thing, but that's besides the point. So we already have this Sagittarius energy present, right? And Jupiter or Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, is all about growth, philosophy, belief, expansion, higher education, higher knowledge, long distance travels, and things of that nature. So when Mercury goes into retrograde, it's also going to square Neptune, which is going to be in the sign of Pisces. So you have Mercury retrograding, and keep in mind, Sagittarius is the opposite sign of Gemini. And in astrology, anytime a planet is in its ruler's, like the opposite sign of its ruler, it's in its detriment. And that's just a fancy way of saying that the planet doesn't, it's not going to work. It's uncomfortable here, right? And when you're uncomfortable in any type of environment or circumstance, you tend to not function that well, right? You tend to be debilitated. You tend to not really, you tend to be uncomfortable. You might clam up. You might be shy. You might fuck up. You know, you might, you're out of your element here, is what I'm saying. So when you have Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius, it's weak. It's very weak. So once again, weakening, it's kind of like, it emphasizes this kind of disorientation that Mercury feels here in Sagittarius. And typically a lot of astrologers feel like Sagittarius isn't a good house for, or excuse me, a good sign for Mercury to be in general. So once you have Mercury retrograde taking place with these energies at play, you know, it can manifest in, like I said, a lot of miscommunication. I mean, Neptune in and of itself represents, you know, illusions, delusions. It's a very dreamy, misty, what the fuck is this? Sorry. So what is a gnat? What's going on here? It's a very misty, hazy kind of planet, right? And it's associated just on a global scale with lies, deceit, cover-ups, conspiracy, you know, anything that's kind of like, I mean, deception really is what comes to mind here. And then it's not really that positive of an aspect, you know. And anytime you have a square in astrology, the aspect square just represents tension. It represents, you know, these two planets not really being comfortable next to each other. And as a result, it manifests in people, places, things, scenarios that kind of are forced to work together. And it creates an opportunity on a certain scale for you to learn, for you to grow, and just for you to be aware of these things. And you know, when Mercury in Sag, you know, squares Neptune in Pisces, this, I mean, it takes the fuzziness of, or the funkiness of Mercury retrograde, and it kicks it up to a whole nother stratosphere, because not only are we like having disconnections in communications, it creates a environment to where, because we have this Sagittarius influence that wants to create, you know, meaning and assign meaning and understanding to things, it's meeting Neptune, which in nature is completely detached from reality. So as a result, it's a lot of illusions going on here. It's going to be a lot of Decepticons, a lot of people being confused as to what's real and what's not. You know, learning what's reality and what's fake, or maybe even people relying too heavily on their emotions to kind of form certain beliefs, you know. And Sagittarius tends to be very strong, like we hold strongly to our beliefs, and there is a constant need to learn from our environments so that we can better predict the future. And right now, for these next few weeks, it's a dangerous time to kind of try to tap into that type of energy, because everything that you see isn't what is really, is not what it appears to be. You know, fantasies, illusions, addictions, you know, the tendency to overindulge during this time period, if you're not, you know, consciously aware, is phenomenal, because Jupiter, you know, enlarges and makes everything bigger. And then Neptune is the planet of addictions. It's the planet of, you know, victimization even. So, you have to be very, very mindful. Moderation is something that we're going to have to keep in mind for these next few weeks, as well as being grounded, staying grounded. This could manifest as, you misinterpreting the things that people say, maybe people lying to you, maybe you lying to other people, or even if you're not lying, it could create a situation to where maybe you're not living in reality. The way you're perceiving events is kind of skewed based on what's really going on, what's really taking place. Don't rush to try to figure out why things are happening, if that makes sense. Which is it's a natural human instinct, and especially with so much of this Sagittarius influence. Jupiter in Sag and Mercury, in Sag retrograding in Sag. You're gonna want to figure out the direction of things, and to piggyback off of my Jupiter and Sag video, this is the time period where a lot of growth and expansion is going to occur. You're going to be taught a lot of lessons, but while Mercury is making such a hard aspect to Neptune and Pisces, this could create confusion. It could create a lot of unnecessary confusion if you fight against the whole theme of Mercury retrograde, which is to slow the fuck down, to relax, to kind of go inward and channel those energies, channel those Neptunian creative energies, those Piscean energies, because Pisces is the sign of like singers, artists, poets. Channel those creative energies into more constructive outlets, more constructive creative outlets. More, to be more reflective or introspective, should I say. Now isn't the time to really try to formulate opinions and beliefs based on what's taking place in front of you, because things might not be what the fuck you think they are. People might not be who the fuck you think they are, and you might want to be mindful of how you're representing yourself to others as well. So yeah, but on the more positive side, things that you can do that would kind of be best suited to this energy would be writing, creating songs, creating music, anything that is creative and that allows you to kind of tap into that imagination, that subconscious realm. Neptune is the natural ruler of the 12th house in astrology, which is the subconscious. It's the dream world. You might have very vivid dreams throughout this time. And I like to keep a dream log. Write your dreams down, write them down. The spirit might be trying to come to you and teach you things, send you certain messages. But don't put too much stock into trying to figure shit out right now. Focus on being less reactive. And with that being said, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Make sure you share with a friend. And remember to practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And as always, I holla.